back for our second installment of our Island Music Determination and Overdrive podcast, and we are here with Boscoe France. He's going to be doing a PRS experience event with us tonight, and we are really happy to have him here. This is actually his second time here at Island Music.
Yep.
I think he was a little bit confused at first.
Yeah, I got to do a few clinics, but I remember I was like, no, they have a stage. Because when I walked in, I was like, where's the stage? Because I remember being here because I thought it was really cool.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming back and doing this.
Glad to do it. Road to the Experience 2018.
That's right. I know you're super busy and you got a lot going on, so we appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and then to hang around to do an event here tonight. You're a phenomenal guitar player.
Thank you.
And it's awesome for me to watch you because you're really good at all the stuff that I'm not. I think I told you last time, like, I never even have really played slide guitar before, ever. So to watch you do it effortlessly, to me, is pretty inspiring. Makes me want to go buy a slide.
There was a lot of clicky involved in getting better at it, like, hitting the frets and stuff. But I encourage anyone to do it. I think maybe sometimes having higher action is an assist on like, so maybe some people who start playing guitar at first with really bad action on a guitar, maybe
they should go with the slide,
yeah, that helped me out. I couldn't make an F or a B for a long time, but a hybrid picking is another big thing I think helps with the slide for muting and stuff. But then you get into another thing. But just like to play slide, you can play in open tuning, you can play in standard. I tended to play everything in standard for a long time because I carried one guitar to most gigs and then to deluxe or an equivalent 112 or 110 amp when I was a kid, be it Crate or whatever now defunct company. Hey, that G10 chorus is, whatever sounds good at the time. Like we were just talking about PV amps earlier, and I've done plenty of gigs through a PV, and I've got a manageable tone out of them. I think it's what you're used to and what you like. I now am lucky to work with, Paul, Reed Smith, and Doug Sewell, and all the people at PRS. So I have good amps now.
You're not going back to the Crate G series.
No, sometimes on a fly date, you never know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I think that most gigging musicians kind of build their rig to kind of accommodate whatever they get. It's very hard to be a fixed, immovable object in this business. Like, I want this or I'm not playing. Guess you ain't playing.
Like that. Yeah. That's right. You're only playing at your house, I think, if you have that attitude.
I want a 4-channel Marshall with eight cabinets, I like a combo amp normally, or a small amp. I will say that playing outside, I have discovered the awesomeness of, a 4 whatever cabinet.
Yeah. Just sounds so much fuller and
to push
air.
So
much more air.
Playing a lot of small dates as I did growing up, and playing like most people that play in a band at a Legion, an Amvets, a VFW, an Elks, an Owl, any of those animals,
Lions
Deer
Club.
Hunters Club, They don't want a lot of loud volume, and you want to sound good. And sometimes to play at a low volume and not have any overdrive or drive, it's hard. And so I like having a small amp, and they make it so that you can hit a button and kind of get a saturated state now. And that's cool for small thing. I did that the other night, but on a real stage, I want real tubes. And I haven't become an amp modeling guy yet. It scares me. They don't look like amps.
Well,
I think if they made it look like an amp,
it is unbelievable. Like the one thing that's been really big at our store this year has been the big floorboard processors.
Helix.
The Helix is a humongous. I mean, that is such an awesome tool for a gigging musician. For you to be able to fly in with that in a gig bag and a guitar and have all that palette of tone and different amps and different effects, and then be able to just send lines directly to a monitor and directly to the board. It's amazing.
The thing is a lot of these small dates we did, we never have a sound man or anything. It would be us like at the board with.
Sure, you're reaching over
we
between
would be in charge of that too,
yeah.
And the other thing I've seen a lot of bands doing, and smaller bands and bigger bands, they buy these wireless mixers now that you can control from a phone or an iPad.
Yeah.
Plug everything in and then run ear sends, and
Yep.
they're all using in ears, and it's like, man, that for a band that wants to tour and doesn't have a lot of money, if you could throw a couple of those, or one of those in the van, and a modeler and the drum kit being the biggest,
Yeah.
the thing, and a small bass amp, you can go play a lot of places if they carry PA. Like coming up here, obviously playing a music store, we didn't have to bring any gear. I'm going to use some amps you guys have, some amps that the rep has.
Oh, I hate to tell you, you're using the Crate G10 today.
Hey, man, I got
just
I got a couple pedals over there that'll make it sound
Yeah.
that'll do all right.
Well, that's the other thing too, is in today's world, pedals have come so far that if you just build yourself a pretty good pedal board, that almost any amp that has an okay clean channel, you can just come in and just go right into it, and all your tone is right there.
Agree.
You know?
I definitely agree that a lot of companies make great pedals. I didn't use a whole lot of pedals ever. I used one, and my buddy, he in this day and age, we usually communicate through social media, and someone asked me a question about what pedals I was using now, and he asked did I still have the baby blue one that would blow the roof off of the place. That's all he remembered was me having one pedal.
One baby blue pedal.
Yeah, it was a full drive, one of the first kind of full drives. I got it like 20 years ago after seeing a friend of mine play with one. And I thought, well, I want to use that. And so I used that. And that was my introduction to pedals. And then I remember when I saw I never had one, but all the Line 6 stuff that everyone had that were.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, it seemed like everybody in Nashville had that when I was down there. They had the
Yeah.
red, the green, the blue.
The green one was that's the delay, I
Yeah.
think. And that one was such a huge staple for a long time, And it's still a really good pedal. I think, to me, those things make me nervous a little bit because there's a lot of buttons and knobs and stuff, and they all do different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like dual function buttons.
Well, I don't know if I remember the rack gear when everybody was trading in decent amps for rack gear,
Oh,
like
sure.
80 AMP ones.
Yep. Rocktron had a lot of cool
Yeah,
things.
well, that's kind of what makes me leery of making the switch now. Is not that I don't want to. I like my tube amps. I learned to work on tube amps. I build my own amps, so I know when I get something like I need to run through that side, or
Right.
there's this much stuff going through that circuit, and I don't like anything in the signal chain, which is why I was so hesitant to use a bunch of pedals, and then playing in a trio. There's certain things I don't swap guitars. Like I don't play a Fender Strat because we're doing 2 Hendrix songs and
Sure.
a night, or because I'm playing an Allman Brothers song, play Les Paul. I've always been a PRS guy. There was a couple years where I won a contest.
I was going to ask you about that. You kind of one of the big things on your resume from me as the outside looking in, just kind of reading about you to get ready for this interview, was winning the King of the Blues contest. Tell me a little bit about that, and then the guitar from that.
To be honest, man, I'd entered it a couple times for different reasons. One time I saw that they were giving some gear away, and I thought, man, it might be nice to get some gear. And I made it to the regional, and then I got beat by a very, very good guitar player who, I grew up watching him play, and I liked that he probably should have won the whole thing went that year. And then I kind of decided, I was like, I don't know if contests are the thing for me, but my band was playing, and I needed a mic. And the prize for winning in store that night was a 57. So it's like,
Oh, nice. Okay.
so I'm going to enter this Wednesday and go get a mic so I could play. So I did, and maybe it was a little full of myself. It's a small area. I thought I could win one night, to
Sure.
get to. So I won that night and got a mic, and then debated on going back. And I'm like, nah, I would, you entered the contest, finish it out, and ended up, I won, and there were some very good guitar players, and I don't know how you distinguish who wins. I had a good night that night. I got the crowd into it, if that's how they do
Judge,
that
yeah.
thing. So that worked out a whole lot. And from that, there was a documentary that's been on PBS called Shoeless Blues, which is really kind of absurd to me but it's just about me being from a small place, and my 2 buddies, Ben Wohler and Alex Morgan, who Alex is kind of big rock photographer, and very big rock photographer in the metal scene, but this was his first foray into a film, and Ben's done a couple films, and they were like, we got some cameras, let's try it
Make
out.
something, sure.
And they did, and we made 2 parts. One of it was, once you won the King of the Blues, Battle of the Blues, they changed the name of it, not to be sexist, I believe, to attract more female contestants. So once that happened, the prize was a deal with Gibson, and I never played Gibson, but I'd won a Gibson in that process, and I thought it's only good business to play the guitar of the sponsor. Maybe it is or not.
Sure, that seems like a noble thing to do,
Yeah, so I did, and I did all right. And to be honest, man, on the video clips, I'm not happy with the way it sounds. I wasn't sure how the knobs even worked on that thing. I feel like a dipstick saying that. No, I never played Les Pauls. They were like kind of an unobtainable thing where we were at. And when you got one, everyone had the horror story about their kid walking by a guitar stand and breaking it.
Yeah,
because all of us guys had kids, and it was just one of those things. And then when I got one, man, I remember I'd almost get into fights in bars when people got close to it.
Get away from my guitar.
Yeah, it made me really a non-approachable dude. So I had to swap. But I've had my green CE since 1997. I wanted a PRS the first time I saw him. I'm pretty sure the first time I saw him was in an Aerosmith video. Brad Whitford was playing one in the video.
Yeah, because he was always early on kind of catching cool guitars before they hit mainstream. I remember seeing him play a Music Man Axis before anybody else kind of really grabbed
He always had
to
Klein on his board before anybody. It's kind of... I've gotten to do some stuff with this guy, Derek St. Holmes, just jams and gigs and stuff, and he's in a band with him, and I always like, hey, man, can you tell me some Brad Whitford stories?
Yeah.
Like, I could, but you're a little young. It always makes me feel good when he says that.
He's, people always immediately think of Joe Perry.
Not me.
When they mention Aerosmith, but Brad Whitford is such a staple of that band, and his rhythm guitar parts and his tone. He might not be the guy in the limelight all the time like Joe Perry is, but man, did he make that band.
I saw him live one time, and he carried them that night. I mean, like, he carried them. Joe Perry, of course, he looked cool, and it was before he looked a lot like Johnny Depp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was, I think, in the late 90s, I saw them in a band called Monster Magnet. And the night before...
Monster Magnet, I've never heard that name since the 90s.
And I saw those guys together, but the night before I went to a clinic at a big box music store. This is back, 20... maybe longer than that, like when there was like it was Mars Music, and it was a Hollywood Music or something.
Okay.
So one of those places, and in like Hendersonville, and they were there. And everyone just kept asking Joe Perry questions. And, I just thought, wow. And then I went and saw them the next night. And I was center stage down front at Starwood, which anybody that's, from or been to Nashville, it's kind of a staple. It was.
Okay.
To see a band. It was a good outdoor venue. And, man, that was the night I was like, yeah, that's the guitar player. And no disrespect, but for watching them that night, man, and... maybe it was a thing where they passed the ball to each other, and for different periods,
Sure.
somebody takes over. But he was definitely the guy driving the boat that night, and
cool
I just really dug it. But you see some bands like that. I've seen the Allman Brothers several times throughout my life, and at different points, it might seem like, well, Greg's in charge of the band tonight, or like it may feel like Warren's having the night, or Derek always seemed to be having the night.
Yeah.
Always seems to be having the night. Derek Drugs, you're too good.
So tell me how you switched from your Gibson that you won in the contest to how you got into
it was actually
your first PRS guitar.
My Green C is a 97. I bought it in 97. I'd always been a PRS guy, and then when I went to the contest, I wanted to play a Gibson guitar. Even the picture they used of me is playing my blue CE. But the green, I got the green one in 97, and we parted ways in 2005. I got a divorce, and I pawned the guitar with every intention of getting it back, and I lost it for about, I got it back in 2012, and all because of that phone number you can see scrawled in there.
Okay.
He still has the same phone number. My buddy Mike, we were on a crew bus together with a country band, Brooks and Dunn. I was a lighting guy, and he was the video guy.
Wow, that's cool. Man, you've had a really interesting life.
I'm doing a gig in Washington in a few weeks in D.C. at this big national barbecue cook-off, and I got a call from a buddy, and he was like, man, there's got to be two guys using your name or something because and there's a guy playing Washington, D.C., and I'm running lights for him. The guy that was my boss on Brooks and Dunn, I was like, no, that's me.
That's really me, yeah.
So you were my boss, and now kind of I'm your boss. Do not put any green lights on me. Just have some weird caveat, no spots during any song that is an odd or even number. Now, I've got to do a lot of stuff. I tried to stay involved in music as much as I could, and I met Paul Reed Smith getting to how I switched back. I was playing clubs, and the Les Paul neck shape hurt my hand. If you grew up playing them, you grew up playing them, but I grew up playing the wide fat neck. We were talking about that earlier. Love them. Love to see them make a return.
Hint, hint.
Will it come back? I don't know.
Yeah.
Are they listening? Let's hope so. But I always liked that neck shape. And so when I was doing club gigs that weren't as big, I didn't think the artist rep would mind or know, kind of. And they didn't. They didn't know who I was. Yeah. And Gibson's a very historic company, and I hope that things work out because I don't think it's good for any guitar maker to go under. But I do think it is time for someone to control some quality. And again, I was booked at a club by Henry back when there was the Gibson Cafe. Met his son. They're nice people. Just, they saw the business going one way and business went another, I guess.
Yeah, maybe so.
I couldn't run a company like that,
I'm sure it requires a totally different skill set and different mindset. And,
well, they just acquired so many brands, and I feel like companies do that when they get big. It's just like, well, you make enough money. Why aren't you happy with the numbers of employees you have and being successful?
Right, right.
Or the goal
stable.
Is,
why does it always have to be more?
Or they want to get so big so they can sell to a bigger brand, like have a pedal company get so big. Or I have a friend that makes amps, and his goal is to get picked up, and I think it's going to happen, But I met Paul in a parking lot at a clinic. I was just there talking, and went up, tried to ask him a question, and kind of got blown off. And then I asked one during the event, and probably wished I was blown off. But I met Paul Miles and Emil Wursler there, and kind of forged a bond with Paul, and Emil and I became friends. Emil was in a couple of huge bands that toured Ozfest and things like that, and he was pretty much the sole writer and guitar player with Chimera and Dath. I know someone's going to comment on something. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But Emil is a phenomenal guitar player. He'll be at the experience this weekend.
Okay.
And he knew the guy that did the documentary, Alex, that I said was big in the metal photography and stuff. He'd done album covers, and so he had seen the documentary, had passed my info on to Paul and Bev and Rich, and that's how a couple years ago I started. I did the experience. And that was my first real meeting with Paul. And a month later, I was recording at his house. And
wow,
he's came and stayed at my house. And I go stay at his house. I've recorded up there twice. We play a lot together. We do the Dallas Guitar Show the last couple years. We'll play at the experience together. I tried to see if he was busy this week. I'm like, hey, man, you want to pull a drive to the clinic? But the experience going on and everything, he's super busy this week with rehearsals.
This is his Super Bowl, pretty much.
This is NAMM for PRS. I think they're smart. They do it there, too, but I think it's smart for them to have an event that you can just hang out at. NAMM is just – it's not what it, I think, once was, and now people go just to go that aren't involved in music, and it makes it hard to talk to anybody about a product. Unless you go on Thursday.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. So I think at this point in my life, I've gone to maybe 20 NAMM shows, winter NAMMs in a row almost. I think I missed maybe 1 year, and each year the attendance has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it looks like there's a lot going on. But basically, what's happening is people that do not care about the industry or care about the products or care about music are being let in, and it's overcrowded for a guy like me that my whole mission is I fly all the way across the country so I can bring cool stuff back to my store and my customer base and my community. And a lot of times you can't even get close to the booth. You can't see the products. You can't talk to anybody.
Yeah, if you're not there on Thursday, it's a wash.
Yeah, and even being there on Thursday, now it's so crowded. There's so much going on.
It's like Comic-Con for guitars.
Yeah.
You know, it's an event. And now I think other places have, you know, events like this in their neighborhood because you can get more people in your neighborhood that's your customer base, like you're saying, and kind of say, do you like these things? Do you not like these things?
And you can talk to somebody, and it's not. I mean, NAMM now is like a crazy wall of noise. When you leave there, if you're there all week, so as you go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, by the time you leave Sunday, you have like noise exhaustion. It's like a cacophony of weird.
Oh, your feet, man!
Noise.
Don't wear new shoes to NAMM.
Well, most of the time you don't wear shoes. So do you go barefooted to NAMM?
Man, I wore that a year. They made me wear shoes in the building, and you have to wear them on the bus out there.
Okay, all right.
So like to get on the tram, but I found that out the first year, and then I had these shoes that looked like feet. Oddly enough, no, but I had like my dress shoes from church, and I wore them out there, and
your feet were probably killing you.
Yeah,
you got to wear comfortable shoes.
There's like 4 or 5 of us, and my buddy had just got new shoes, and he was walking around like, "Oh no, I'll catch up." With all this goodie bags, like just grabbing picks. Like, I'll make it. I'm getting some picks in this can opener, and maybe this shirt. No, that shirt's not free. I don't want it. You know, because you walk through there, and that's kind of the thing. You know,
you want to get free cool stuff. Yeah, stickers.
Have something to say you came back with, and then like if you flew out there on a plane, by the last day, you're like,
I don't need all this.
I'll leave this for here's $6 for the maid, and leave this, and you know, we went out there at a time when a lot of things became legal, and we had to leave more than a tip for the maid because you can't get on planes with some things. I don't know if you can put that on the podcast
I'm
or
sure
not.
You can. Yeah,
there's
no rules here. Yeah,
it's totally legal out there, but it's California. Yeah, California was a good time. It's fun they have it out there, but like. You know, NAMM in Nashville, they had it a couple times, and they had it. I remember they had it one big year. It was kind of big. They had it at the convention center. And I thought, well, this isn't too bad because if you got tired of it, you could walk feet away and go see a live band.
Oh, there's so many other cool things to do.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is there's so many awesome places to eat on every street corner. There's some phenomenal band that you never even heard of, that you don't know, that you're like, wow, this guy's a great guitar player.
And all those guys, you know, like if you follow a lot of those, Guthrie, Trapp, Daniel Donato, Red Volkart, J.D. Samo. And I know I'm leaving other ones. I'm leaving out Brent Mason.
Yeah, he's a great guitar player. Yeah.
All those guys play with this one guy named Don Kelly.
Okay.
The Don Kelly Band. He plays at Robert's Western World, downtown Nashville, and he just somehow or another finds the best guitar players in the world. We never worked together, oddly enough.
Well, maybe he'll be listening, and you will.
Yeah.
So
he knew me then.
He would call.
He would have called. He had my number. I gave it to him twice.
So you just rattled off like a dozen really great guitar players. What do you currently listen to now? Like, and I don't mean like who are your influences. Obviously, we'd be interested in knowing that too. But who like when you drove here today, what did you listen to on the radio?
It's so funny, man. I have satellite radio, and there's so many choices that sometimes it's hard, but a lot of times we always go back to the classic rock or the classic rewind. But on the way up, man, Little Steven's Underground Garage.
Really?
Because like every 5th song was Motown. Every 4th song was like MC5 or something, kind of put the Stooge, you know.
Okay.
Just a mix, just because, man, the last couple of years, it's been a real blessing to, you know, honestly be in the PRS family. I can't stress that enough. And some of the things I've gotten to do. Just got back from Texas, and I watched Eric Johnson play Avia Musicom in its entirety right after we got off stage. We just played, got off stage. He comes up and plays that. And then as soon as he gets done, we go back up to start the Allman Brother tribute. You know, so like,
wow.
I can say that I, you know, can't say I opened, can't say I closed, but I could, but no. But I did stand right there where he was playing and watch him play and like see his amp and his pedal board. And if you'd have told me when I was a kid watching Austin City Limits
that you would be part of something like that. It's an awesome
and so
feeling.
man, I just walked backstage afterwards, and he came off the ramp and he walked by and he was like, "Oh, nice set. I saw you guys play. Nice slide." And man, I was like, I really said this, and I felt like a dummy later. I was like, "Did you really watch us play?"
Yeah.
And Paul just looked at me like, wrap it up, because him and Paul obviously Paul knows everybody, and it seems like the people that really care about sound and audio, like Eric Johnson's notorious about
Oh yeah,
certain things. Paul is very much like
he's
that.
like that too. Yeah,
And they gravitate towards each other, and when they really like hunker down on a bone and start talking, business, I'm out of the loop, man. I don't know if my ears aren't that good, or I don't have the vocab to
mine are definitely
express
not. Yeah.
like what they're saying, but and it's like, man, yeah, not once did they say the word transparent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I find the high end fizzy, and I kind of know what that means. Like, I kind of understand that better than someone saying this pedal does nothing.
Yeah.
This pedal makes my guitar amp really fuzzy.
Well, I say like, oh, that sounds good. Yeah, it's good enough for what. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
It's like for me, always it's like, you play a little bit, you just listen. It's like, all right, that's good enough. I can roll with that. But Paul, we had an outside event a couple years ago, and Paul's band played, and he was the headliner or right before the headliner, something like that.
It's very
bands all
particular
day.
about sound.
So we had nice stage set up. It was under a big tent, like an outside wedding tent kind of thing. And we had a nice pearl drum set up there, and we had this carpet across the stage, so you would hide all the cables under it and everything. People didn't slip or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he gets up there and he plays a couple notes, and all of a sudden he's yelling for the guy running the stage, and I'm kind of watching from afar, like, oh, I wonder what he's doing. Maybe he needs something more in his monitor or whatever. No, he's motioning for the guy to take the front drum head of the bass drum off and peel the carpet up. And I'm like, oh my God, what's he doing? He's destroying the stage. What is he doing? And I just remember him kind of, I said, well, what's going on? Everything okay? He says, well, I use my ears for a living. I can hear that this isn't the way that I want it to sound. And you know what? I said, all right, you go ahead and take the carpet up and take that bass drum head off and whatever. But it was amazing because even after they did that, I said, well, it sounds okay. Sounds good enough, but I couldn't tell.
There's been a couple things where I was like, I can't hear a difference. And I listened back in the studio, and I'm like, I can definitely hear the difference. Like, there was one day we were recording. And the thing about Paul is, too, man, Paul will get his hands dirty. Like, he will take something apart in a second.
Yeah.
And, ask you about it later.
Mm.
But up at the studio, there a couple different amps he has, a couple different pedals. He has a very nice collection of gear, but Paul's thing's microphones. He's like, they're like ears, and each ear, human ear is a little different. That's why you hear things different. And we had a whole talk about that, and I preferred one mic for my voice, and I really listened. And at first, man, he really pushed me. He's like, no, that's not the one your voice sounds good. I had to fight him about it. And he was like, see, now you know what your voice sounds good in, though, don't you? It's like you listened. And it really made me aware of that, too. So sometimes maybe he's doing it to see if people are going to pay attention or do what he needs them to do later. Like maybe it's like take all the M&Ms out of the bowl, the brown ones.
Yeah, and
if they saw that was done, then everything's going to be a good night.
Yeah.
If not, then the points overhead are probably hanging funny and the sound's going to be weird.
Yeah.
And he's a smart guy, man. It's like it's been, like I was saying, a real blessing. But some of the guitar players that I get to play with Sonny Landreth, I lay that directly at his feet for introducing me to Jimmy Wallace. And then I met Sonny under a tree, shook hands with him, and he just looked at me like, I was like, I'm a big fan, because I am, man. I'm the hillbilly abroad. I'm the luckiest, dude out of Kentucky,
That's what I always say. Yeah, so this, like doing this, and especially what I do for a living and all the cool scenarios that I've been in, I was always just a fan of music and guitar playing. Like, I don't know anything about anything. I'm not as special, I just was lucky to kind of get into a cool industry and find something that I really like and that I'm really excited about. And I'm just a fan. So I always think I'm the luckiest guy in the world to be able to do this
I do too. And, a lot of it's my age or, like having some of the jobs I have working in a coal mine. That's a fun one. Let's get on a shuttle car and ride down 6 inches from hell. That kind of stuff. Or I had odd jobs or anything to stay in music. And the thing is like, had I not kept my chops up or been prepared when I met Paul to,
you wouldn't
deliver.
have got the opportunity.
Yeah. the contest is awesome, but I mean, I equate it to like winning American Idol. People are like, man, he ain't no good. People voted on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you get a lot of, you read the comments. I even went back one day. I was in the right kind of mood and answered them all. And I was like, you know what? You're totally right. From 2:30 to 3 minutes, I'm just total shit. You know, you're right. I'm awful. I didn't even know why I started playing guitar. And then they'll write back. And I'm sorry. No, it wasn't that bad. Like, you know.
I don't even know why I started playing.
Yeah, I did. I really do. You know, it's like, I understand. I've probably, when YouTube first came out, probably left a couple comments like, nice lick. I liked it better when this guy played it.
Oh.
Now that I have to try to be creative, now that I'm not just playing other people's songs and that there's people that want to hear my songs, like I never thought anyone would want to hear anything I did. So I played other people's songs. And now people are like, that's great, but what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you sound
Yeah.
like? And the benefit to all the styles and all the weird things about my guitar playing, you know, old style country or chicken picking or slide or even, you know, sweet picking, or I'm into all that as a guitar player. Am I good at it? No. But having a little bit of it in my arsenal at all times kind of makes me feel like I have a niche.
Sure, and you have a bigger vocabulary
Yeah.
to use and to express yourself and to fit into different genres and different playing scenarios.
Well, you know, like as guitar players, we can get very clinical and talk, well, you know, those 5-note pentatonic licks. And if you play guitar, you do. I'm just saying, I play the pentatonic notes. I'll play 5 notes over and over. Da, 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 da. And we all know what that sounds like, you know. Eric Johnson was such a, when he hit the scene, man, he just changed guitar playing. He was like Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen changed the way people play guitar.
Absolutely.
Yngwie Malmsteen, like him or not,
Yeah.
changed the way people play guitar. And a lot of people are just now catching up to that. And it's great that people do. I'm guilty of, pulling that lick out in something. But it's definitely an homage or nod to Eric Johnson played that in Cliffs of Dover.
Sure.
You know, I don't know where he got the riff. I know he learned a lot of stuff from piano. I don't know. Don't care. It's Eric Johnson to me.
Yeah.
But there are other guitar players now that, because we're so influenced, that, man, we can lean heavily on that lick. I've seen videos of me where I'm like, man, I'm going into the Johnson zone.
Yeah, and it's just because you're comfortable with it and you've done it so much.
I know. I wasn't. I worked on it. I actually watched these YouTube videos a few years ago about forward slant picking and backward slant picking.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah.
Well, instead of like flat picking like this, if you take a string and put it, the pick in between there, then I've changed the distance. It's now closer to the E and the A as where if I was flat picking.
Okay.
So the other thing I think about, and this goes like an economy picking thing, if I play an even number of notes on a string and I start on a downstroke, I'm going to end up away from the next string if I want to play a descending run.
Yeah, okay.
So, like, if I know that and I'm going to play 2 notes on the top string, then I'll try to play a 3-note run on the next, or a 1 so I can get around the strings easier. Because I alternate pick. No, this is like an alternate. Instead of sweeping.
Right.
But I want to be able to do both of those things. So I practice that kind of stuff. And then we were talking about the kind of pentatonic,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, there was like, that's, I probably cover a lot of that in this thing we're doing at the experience. It's called picking and sliding. But if you can count the groupings, that's what a lot of it is
Sure, it's just
do those fast
of
licks.
notes,
It's like learning a scale. And then once you learn it, man, it's like, man, I sound really clinical. Now I have to, kind of cleanse my playing of this and make it more musical again. And
right, and add some vibrato and bends and slurs and stuff to make it
playing
sound
with,
real.
Man, I played with 11 guitar players on stage, it looked like. I just got the video of it.
Oh, man.
And everyone's just, and the one thing you can hear is when people would go.
Right, because it stands out, yeah.
Because it's not, bees buzzing, like playing every note.
Oh, that's a cool little exercise. That's a really cool exercise.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. I like doing this one. This is a good one. This I got out of a Steve I magazine. I know someone's going to be like, oh, so Steve. I did when I was a
10-hour
kid.
practice?
Yeah, I think the 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4,
Yep.
1.
Yep. That's a 10-hour or 8-hour, whatever it was at the time.
Yeah,
practice
just a
regimen.
cool practice thing. Yeah, and I tried to play Paul Gilbert stuff and sucked at it because I could never get any.
Oh, those videos. Did you ever have the videos?
No,
as a
no.
kid?
On YouTube, I watch some of them now, and I still can't get it.
Oh
You know
my
what I mean?
God, it's so hard. I
Yeah.
remember sitting there for hours and hours
Yeah.
with the little triplet,
Yeah, it's
alternate
his thing,
picking
man.
thing.
You know, I got so.
And
Yeah,
it's
he
so
kinda did-
fast and so perfect,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh my God, I'm never gonna get that.
But that's his, like the
Yeah.
Ingve stuff. Like once you learn the lick in Black Star and you got it, like could play it a couple times, it's like.
All right, that's good enough. Let's
Yeah.
go back to playing something easier now.
I did that the other day. Well, about a year ago, I got a delay pedal. Like I was saying, I was like, someone told me Nuno Betancourt used a delay pedal on that "Flight of the Bee" song.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that when I was a
Yeah.
kid. I tried to learn. But I didn't know he had a delay pedal. So when you're actually playing, it's like,
Yeah, it's nowhere near as hard, but it sounds so awesome.
yeah,
you
but
know?
that's the speed.
yeah.
So I was like, oh, maybe I want to delay. But like some of that stuff you don't think about when you're a kid, or like now when do you remember the Crossroads thing?
Oh, I spent so long learning that. Yeah.
But like playing that with delay now,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, now that I know Nuno did that.
Yeah, it really fills it out. And
Yeah,
you
I
can
freaked the
kinda-
kids in the neighborhood out. My son's 14, and all his little skateboard buddies like play guitar, and he's like a punk rock drummer. But I'll be like, "Hey, kids, check this out," and they'll walk out like, "Oh my God, he's a wizard!" I'm like, "Oh, get a delay pedal."
So do you jam with your son?
Yeah. I try to get for the last 2 years, our drummers lived in the house. I have a program called Adopt a Bandmate.
Oh, that's a good program.
Yeah, no,
Makes practice really easy.
John's from up here in Maryland. He's actually, I met him at the Experience 2 years ago, and Paul's like, I heard you don't have a drummer. I'm like, I don't. He goes, I got a drummer. I'm like, in Kentucky? He goes, he can
Well,
be.
here's the thing. Yeah.
Can be. So I didn't know it at the time, but Paul is married to John's mom, Paige. It's his stepson, but John's older, so.
Okay.
But John's lived with me for the last 2 years, so we've had a steady diet of good vinyl, and because he's a younger guy, and I'm like, have you ever heard these Beatles albums? From a drummer standpoint, it might not be something you listen to unless you knew the power of Ringo,
Right, sure.
Like he's the Beatles to me. Like he's the happiest. Any live video I've ever seen of that dude just makes me smile.
Yeah,
Like,
because he's having the time of his life. He's so happy. He's just playing.
Yeah,
you know,
whether Bernard Purdy played on it or not.
doesn't matter, yeah.
I don't believe all that stuff. I don't know, but they make good stories. It makes good conspiracy theories to go in a rabbit hole on YouTube.
there's tons of them. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many.
Yeah, link this video to that, Bernard Purdy.
Yeah.
Link it to anything we talked about, and we'll get lots of views.
So, what are some of your practice routines? What do you do to keep your chops up and to?
It's hard because I have 4 kids. The oldest 14, youngest just started walking. She's 1.
Wow.
My wife's a therapist. She does a lot of good work with children with autism and disabilities. My sister has a disability, and so it's kind of where my heart lies. So
Yeah.
I keep the kids usually like a Monday through Thursday, and then I try to play in an area we can get to. Summer I go out and do festivals, this type stuff.
Yeah.
And try to when we do Washington, my son's going to come up and we're going to go skate the Capitol together.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I hope I don't break anything.
Yeah.
But I try to look at, I can't lie, man. I get discouraged a lot with Instagram and YouTube.
Oh,
And some of
everybody
these young
does,
players. I just did a gig with this guy named Justice West, who's people will know him because he was a Vince Gill contest winner and plays with Snoop Dogg. But man, I've been following that guy on Instagram, and every time I see him play guitar, I want to cut my hands off. I cannot stand this kid. And so I'll watch him do some things, and maybe like right now, I'd love to learn some like maybe the Eric Walls kind of gospel kind of.
Okay.
Those voices. I kind of worked on. I never knew anything about jazz. I've been teaching myself hardcore theory about 2 years ago. I started playing piano. I mean, I'm just a good old boy that, learned.
Yeah, sure.
all that kind of stuff. And then I'd hear a cool lick, want to try to figure it out. And
Okay.
I got into some metal guitar players, even though I'm from Travis country.
Yeah. I'm just fascinated by that kind of guitar playing. That's another style that I've never attempted. Or never tried
It's kind of different in that one. You gotta. And you get from that, you can kind of like heel blues.
Yeah.
Where you kind of got that kind of Jimmy Reed.
Yeah.
Jimmy Reed's a little more electric, but early Muddy Water stuff, having that kind of that bass, and even the chord shapes that you use. If you use like a C chord shape, then you got.
That's a good starting point, probably.
Yeah, or play something in A, and then play your.
Okay. So you're using your.
A, D, and E.
Okay.
A. A.
All right. Now you're discouraging.
No, well, I mean, all those licks are, like I think we all know the.
Sure.
Or maybe we know them.
Some of us do.
Yeah, not discouraging. But I do hybrid picking, a real good exercise. Make a G chord.
Okay.
Hold your pick with these, and I'm going to use my, your well, I don't know if the Three Stooges use those. I'm going to use my middle and my ring finger, and I'm going to grab the G and the D string.
Okay.
And that your hand falls like that naturally. So I play the.
Okay.
And then I'll close on the D string on the second fret, so the D will become an E. So if you play it slow, you go your bass string, then your 2, then your bass, close.
Got it.
Bass. So you alternate between those two. Man, like when you're sitting around, when I was a kid, I mean, I'd watch Jeopardy, I'd watch that, but I'd, and like I'm watching Double Jeopardy.
Yep.
And there's your C. So you'll walk you'll drop your the E note out of the C to play on the G string. Do the D.
Okay.
And so that there's a real big band, Greg Martin and Kentucky Headhunters, huge band. They had a song called Do Miss Walker. Yeah.
Okay.
Big song. And I was like, man, because if I play G like Chuck Berry G all night, man, because I wear my guitar up high. There's no shame in it. Yeah. I don't care. It may be cool to wear it low, but I want everyone to see my junk. No. I can't stand, I'm stuffing sausages. I can't stand not to be able to access the neck on the guitar.
Sure.
And I mean, that's why I like the PRS shape. That's why I fell in love with it, man. You can slam
all the
them
way
down
up there,
to reach the volume knob,
Yeah, all the way.
So those are the things I really, and I like this shape. I'm that way, but yeah, man, I don't know. I just sporadic in everything I do, just like this interview. Like if my practice regimen, I might get to practice something a little bit. I was practicing a Danny Gatton picking exercise the other day,
he's a local boy.
Where you do the rec down, you do 5. Because you got to do 5 because that's the odd number to get you down if you start on a down.
Right. Yep. And that's the easiest way to gain speed and momentum.
Yeah, a lot of guys know the 3-note per strings is, go because we were starting on pentatonics, and I think a lot of us would play that like a pentatonic thing that was
Sure.
and connect the boxes, but so yeah.
And getting Paul Gilbert speed.
Well, in pentatonic
Yeah,
land,
yeah,
but
yeah.
and you can, the other thing, you can change pentatonics. Like here's a pentatonic in A. All right, so if you want to, I just change that note. You change one note in a pen.
Yeah.
Kind of make it. Try to not sound so, I just got like a master class from Red Vocart and Greg Koch. 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 Just super nice guys, super good players.
He's been here before, yeah.
Seems like all the really great players are just so nice. Like, so you don't have, you're like, oh, I'd like to dislike this guy.
Yeah, but he's such a nice guy. Yeah,
he's a great guy. He helped me carry my stuff in.
If my car broke down, he'd come get me probably. Like, that's how I always gauge people.
So.
Well, tell me a little bit about your EP that you have out, 1,500 miles.
Yeah, it was 750 miles one way to the studio from my front door, and I had to drive up there and drive back. And we recorded it.
Is that really where you got the name?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Dragon Way Studios at Paul's house. He has a studio. Like, he has an actual studio, not like, I have a computer in my house. And it's a studio, like though.
Bedroom. Yeah,
he has like
a real studio.
A real with
like
drum mics and isolation downstairs for Leslie's if you want to use them. And
wow, okay.
It's really set up so he can go in and be creative. And he's a real creative guy. And I really, in my mind, I see that that's where his interests kind of are going or lie. Like he was really excited about these Waves plugins for the PRS amps, and he's so into the recording and the mixing and stuff. And he's gotten really good at it. This was, I don't say it's one of the first projects he did, but he mixed 3 songs on the record. And Pete Denenberg, who did the Spin Doctors album, who works a lot with Paul, he did a favor to me because he's friends with Paul and did the mix on the album, the other 2 songs. And it was recorded up there. Jan Jakowski of the Nighthawks played bass on it. John Allen, who's with me, played drums. He's been with me for 2 years, and so.
And that's Paul's son-in-law.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. So just put it all together.
Yeah, yeah. And so I know, man, it's so sporadic, and my life is just a big long trail of things that touch each other. Like I lost my guitar and pawned it, and I got it back the year I won the King of the Blues, and then I met Paul 2 years later. And
that's how life works out a lot of times if you really look at it like that.
You get to live long. If you live long enough and aren't a bad guy, I think that things work out to be positive. So. Right. Be nice to people. Say please and thank you.
That's right.
If you take nothing from my practice regiment,
please and thank you. Yeah.
Maybe think, make sure you got enough room for 4 kids. You'll be buying a house. You just bought a house.
So tell me about the shoeless thing.
I don't know earlier if you watched me operate all my pedals.
I did, and I was amazed that you had the dexterity in your big toe to turn up and down volume controls on your pedal.
I started.
I can barely do that with my hands.
With a 1 pedal, and it had 2 buttons on it, and one was a boost, and I could kind of set the amp clean and get heavy drive or normal drive. And so I tell people it's because that's the way my sensei Jimmy Superfly Snuka wrestled.
Yeah, some wrestling stuff.
Oh yeah. Jerry the King Lawler's my man.
Oh yeah, because he's from your area, right?
He's from Memphis. I used to watch him at Evansville, and when I won the Guitar Center thing, they were having SummerSlam outside of the hotel we were at. And I worked as a lighting guy for this company, Bandit Lights, so I knew a lot of those guys, and I called them, and they were across the street, and I had a beer with them, and they were giving me attaboys, like, man, congrats that you're not working on lights with us out here. And I was like, this is awesome. And then I body checked. I was walking out with a guitar case to go to the concert, the deal with Joe Bonamassa to the contest, and I ran full force into Jerry Lawler, who I'm like a foot taller than, and I was like, you're the king, and he's like, thank you. And I called my dad immediately. I said, Dad, start counting the money, man. I think we got a good shot. He's like, what happened? I was like, I just ran into, Jerry the King Lawler. He was shocked.
Wow, that's crazy. That's funny that you're a wrestling fan, too.
Yeah, man, I think it's cool. Hillbilly Jim's from my area. He's a real nice guy. He's from Bowling Green, and man, you got to be a pretty good athlete to do that. And they tour around in vans together.
Oh yeah, man, those guys, it's a hard life.
I was crushed when I was about 8 years old. We left the Evansville Vietnam Veterans Memorial Coliseum after watching the Fabulous Ones put it on the Moondogs.
Oh.
Rex and Spot took a beating that night. They were at Thornton's getting hot dogs together and gotten in like a Mazda mid-mounted engine with the doghouse together.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, it crushed me.
So you were like, wait a second. What are those? What do they do? Why
that's
aren't
when
they
I
beating
learned
each other
that.
up?
Yeah, that's
like
when I learned the heel shouldn't ride in the same vehicle with a good guy. I didn't even know they were called a heel.
Yep, the heels and baby faces.
Yeah, yeah. This just took a turn. Like
it totally did.
Oh,
yeah, it totally did. So I have, I've always been a huge wrestling fan. I think you always go back to what you liked as a kid. You know what I mean? So as a kid, there wasn't. I was at a guitar. Obviously, and wrestling was on TV Saturday mornings.
Oh yeah.
You were, you always wanted to make sure that you saw that and you were into that. And I mean, it's not like today where there's the internet and phones and all that. So those were the couple pastimes that were like a check out of reality.
Our movies were big. Remember, like we had Crossroads when we were young.
Oh, yeah.
The guitar movie Crossroads.
Not the Britney Spears
yeah,
movie.
not the one I check every time on info. The Blues Brothers came out in '80. I can't stress.
I was never a big fan of that.
When I was a kid, man, I've done every one of those gigs now in my life. They're self-fulfilling prophecy. But when I watched that movie, man, I knew as a kid, like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I want to ride in a car that looked, and I did. Me and my buddies rode all the way to Yuma, Arizona in a unmarked cop car. That's my buddy's car. I guess it got it at a police auction up here, and then got pulled over by the Border Patrol. That was fun. They're very nice guys, though. I can't say enough nice things about the Arizona Border Patrol. Thank you
for letting me be here.
Yeah, letting me be here today.
So, tell me a little bit about some of your personal gear. I know that I love guitars. I love acquiring guitars. I love acquiring pedals, amps, gear. My house looks like an extension of this music store, which is crazy because I'm around it all day. Tell me, how many guitars do you have?
I don't really have a count. I have like I said, I want some stuff from Gibson. I've got 5 or 6 products that are either Gibson or Epiphone, a couple Les Pauls. I have a 52 Telly. That was my uncle's. The guy that my Uncle Duke taught me how to play guitar. Sometimes I bring that out and play it. It needs a setup and stuff, but it's just one
like
of those
a real 52 Telly?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's got a different ear neck on it because the neck was, and in my uncle's hands had worn every groove in that. And he's very significant to me, so I didn't want to
replace that. Sure.
So I have it, and I bought like it's a neck, but the heel had to be fitted to that guitar because they were different. I know they're supposed to be the same, but they didn't fit, and they shimmed it. But every dent on that neck I put on, and that neck's been on since the 90s.
Okay.
And it is,
You put some miles on that. I was looking at the neck of
yeah,
your
that's my
CE.
97 CE. That's my main guitar, and I lost it for a couple years, and I replaced it with a blue CE. Different pickups. They had Dragon 2s then.
Yep.
But I'm a PRS guy, and I have a 594. But that neck profile is not what I learned on, and so it's a little
hard to change over.
Yeah, it's a little. I find it difficult to make the switch.
Yeah.
Same way with gear. Like I want to mention, is it cool the Keeley pedals that I use? I love that stuff, but for years I only used that one blue pedal, that full drive thing forever, and I just wanted a different sound, and we ran into each other, and it was the right thing, right time, and I have like a suite of pedals, and they all sound good, and it's like finding how do I use them now in the context of what I do.
Right, in the right combination.
Yeah, it's some of the delays and reverbs though, man, it's like duck to water. It's like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
The high gain stuff, never have used a lot, so the DM drive is right up my alley. The L-Ray, man, I can't lie. That's a lot of pedal in that little box. I gotta use it sparingly, so I don't use the drive to its full potential. But I use those pedals, and my amp-wise, I use Eminent speakers every time I can. Okay. I love the Cannabis Rex. It's made out of hemp. There's something about a natural material to me moving air, like cotton. If you put a cotton shirt on, that's a natural material. It moves air. It feels
Sure.
So sound
The
waves are
breeze,
going. Yeah.
Okay.
And so like just it stands to reason that a natural material
And
is
a
going to move
speaker
air
would do
and,
it,
and
too.
let air escape back too instead of all out. I usually play with an open back cabinet. I like
Okay.
that. Even outside, I'd get a 410, 412 with a little open back. That's what I prefer. I tend to find that closed back cabinets give me a little bass, and that's not really for me.
Yeah, and
It's
low
not-
end
yeah.
resonance. with
Yeah,
the
I
closed back
sing.
speaker.
That's another thing I didn't mention. I sing and play, and so if there's a note that I'm hearing that's out of tune or dissonant, or man, I'll go right to that note, and even though I can hear this guitar note, or even feel it
Yeah.
resonate. That's one thing I like about just hollow body right here. Feeling against your chest, it's like I can kind of sing to that pitch or know where you're going. If it's
Yeah.
sometimes there's just so much noise or playing in a room with a lot of transients and sounds bouncing off and back that they can color what you hear. And on a gig sometime it doesn't sound that great and you're playing. Just imagine trying to sing to that, to pitch.
Yeah, and it sounds out of tune because of the position of your amp and the monitor and maybe the mains.
And you're the
it's-
singer, man, and you're naked. You can blame an out of tune guitar, whatever. You can't blame bad singing on nothing but the singer. And I'm aware. I've seen some videos, like rough nights and stuff, and they always seem to get you at the roughest point too. Like,
Yeah, of course.
when it's time to change,
Yeah.
it's time. It's like Peter Brady. Is it Peter that voice cracked? I don't know.
I was too busy watching wrestling. I never watched much Brady Bunch.
They were on reruns on TBS.
So, as a musician, we've all had these kind of moments on stage where you have like a catastrophic gear malfunction or some things go wrong. Do you have any standout stories that our listeners might get a kick out of?
I've at the experience, the last one I did, like an amp caught fire. Not like started
that's a
smoking.
pretty
It
good one,
it
yeah.
caught fire. And right after we played a song, it's like, yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah,
shredding
yeah.
so much
Yeah,
that this amp couldn't even
just
take it. It caught
It has
fire.
nothing to do with generator power or this or it's all me. Doesn't have nothing to do with I plugged in the wrong speaker load.
Yeah, whoops.
Yeah. No, I have. I've tried. Again, man, growing up, I didn't like singing a whole lot. I always thought I was going to get beat up for singing. It wasn't a very masculine thing to do in my area, sing,
Yeah, I
and,
can see that, yeah.
It wasn't very friendly to the arts. And now it's a lot different. But when I was a little kid, or that's the way I perceived things. And so I didn't like singing, and then when I started singing, that would always be the failure, would be something with a monitor, a mic, I sing out of key. I've had amps blow up, the strings break. One thing about a PRS guitar on mine, it has a tremolo, but it's blocked. I can put a string on while I'm playing it and singing. I've done it 100
Yeah,
times.
and the rest of the guitar doesn't go out of tune.
Yeah. I mean,
that's always a big thing.
if I break a string and it's in a different key, I'll be like, hey, let's play a song in E or A.
Yeah.
Or D.
Yeah.
Even G, because I can fret that while I'm tuning the key with my finger.
Wow. Okay.
And
Wow.
wind
You're
it
pretty
up.
experienced at this. Then.
No,
Okay.
I mean, I won't stop the show or nothing. I'll put the string through while I'm talking, leave it hanging, and
Just keep
all right,
going.
we're going to play this Muddy Waters tune. This thing's I used to do in E. And then won't play the E string, for the until I get to the solo because I can wind it.
Yeah, like it's part of the solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, is there any words of inspiration or advice or anything?
Keep
you
your
can leave
chops
our
up, man.
listeners
You
with?
never know.
That's right.
Like I said, I'm 41 in the last couple years, like the last 2 years, since 2016. I got to do some cool stuff before and met some cool people, but the speed and the pace at which things are happening now have greatly increased.
Yeah.
And Paul's been the biggest supporter I've had, hands down. Like since then I've been done a clinic with Brent Mason, Emil. My name is on a poster with David Grissom, who's like my hero. Like
Yeah.
I remember sitting again at Starwood in the grass in Nashville, watching him and BB play together, and I was like, man, one day. It didn't happen at the same time, but I got to meet, and BB gave me an attaboy, and we did a show together, and then last year I met, or the year before, David, and I was like, man, I'm sorry, I've been butchering Good Day for the Blues for the last 15 years. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, they couldn't be nicer guys either. We did the Dallas thing, and some of those guys are really rock stars. You know, you're like, oh wow, that's what one of those looks like.
Yeah.
The other of us are just guitar players and happy to be doing it. But yeah, I'm a pretty lucky guy, man.
Well, we want to take the time to thank you for coming out and visiting our store twice and taking the time to do this interview with me. And we look forward to seeing you guys play tonight and then again this weekend at Experience. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, man. Have a good day and keep picking and a grinning.
Thanks.